Hello, everyone. We are here on Spotlight with CJS Sports on the Columbia campus with Madeleine Loh, also known as May, who is a competitive rock climber here on the Columbia climbing team. May, how did you get your nickname and how did you first get into climbing?
Yeah, my real name's Madeline, but I go by Mei because it means little sister in Chinese. And I am a little sister, but I'm also an older sister. So it doesn't really make sense. It was kind of just like my older sister would call me Mei, and then my little sister came out, and being the littlest sister, she was like, I'm not gonna call you by your real name, and I'm also gonna call you Mei. And then it kind of stuck, and yeah, everyone's called me that basically, except for like TSA agents as security in the airport. And yeah, in terms of like the highest level of climbing I've done, I competed in the USA Climbing Youth Competitive Circuit for, I want to say like 7 or 8 years, something like that. And I have been to nationals a number of times and made semifinals, I think like 4 times or something. So that's the highest level I've gone to, but yeah, I've had a lot of fun on the competitive climbing circuit.
Right, yeah, and I'm happy that I was able to be in person for your last 2 competitions. This weekend, you made it to finals at the Vital Red Point competition, just a few blocks away. And the weekend before that was the Collegiate Nationals qualification event, which for those who don't know, qualifies you for Nationals, which this year is where again? In Georgia?
Yeah, in Atlanta, Georgia. So
yeah,
super excited. It was actually I had my first ever youth nationals there. So
oh, wow.
It's going to be really nostalgic to go back.
Yeah. And are you a senior or a junior?
I'm actually a sophomore.
A sophomore?
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, oh, wow, how does it feel to have your last competition here on the collegiate circuit? But you still have...
I still have a couple years.
A while.
Yeah.
So did you make it? You made it to... I saw you last year at
yeah,
Nationals, too.
Yeah.
So do you have any greater goals for this Nationals event, or?
Yeah. I think because this year I actually got a little injured this spring, I'm kind of just working my way back up to where I was and hoping that I can kind of just give it my all and just feel good on the wall. So I don't necessarily have like a results goal. I just want to feel strong and be excited at the competition and have a lot of fun. So I think, yeah, in future years, I want to train a little bit more, feel a little more prepared. But, you know, if your body says you have to stop for a bit, like you have to listen. So
yeah, for sure. And I guess let me zoom out a bit because some people might not know how climbing works and how competitive rock climbing works, and even more so. There are 3 disciplines, for those who don't know: bouldering, ropes, and I'll say speed. Some people don't like it, but I'll say speed. What would be your favorite discipline to compete in?
Yeah, I don't really speed climb much at all, so it's really just between bouldering and ropes. And while I love ropes, I think it's really hard to train because it's basically a very, very tall wall and takes a lot of energy. And so like I haven't really put in the time to like gain the endurance that I would need to like feel good on the wall. And so I think bouldering has been a lot more fun for me recently because you kind of can just do all kinds of moves without having to necessarily be as fit to even, you know, get to that stage where you can have a lot of fun with it. So recently I've been loving bouldering, but I like to think that I'm like equally a rope climber as I am a boulderer.
For sure. And for those who don't know, the Columbia climbing team kind of dominated the CNQE. There were, I think, 4 out of the 6 that went are Columbia athletes or something like that? So we have a surprisingly good amount, and all girls too, which is even more funny. Let me step back even more to how you started climbing. So at least for me and a lot of climbers in our age group, when I asked them this question, we always had the same response, which is we went to a birthday party in the 2000s and that's how we got into rock climbing. So I'm just curious, was that the same story for you, or did you have a different origin?
Yeah, I did go to a birthday party when I was like maybe 5 or 6, but I don't think that's why I necessarily started. I think I was always climbing things as a little kid. Like we had this swing in my backyard with like a long rope that like was probably went up to like 25 feet tall, and my parents would just like let me climb that, and I really enjoyed that. So I think at one point I was in like 4th grade, and my friend's mom contacted my mom and was like, I'm signing her up for a you know, like after school program, like, would your daughter want to join? Like, we know she'd probably like it, which I don't know why they knew I'd like it, but I think I already gave the energy of like enjoying climbing things.
Yeah.
And then from there on out, I was on the after school program, and then I would beg my mom every night to join the team. So then I joined the team, and then that's from there is just I loved climbing. So
yeah, no, I feel you, and a lot of people say, or at least I do, that climbing is just a sport full of people that just couldn't fit into any other sport.
Yeah.
It's just such a different thing to do as a kid than anything else, like, you know, soccer or basketball.
Yeah, I
So-
actually, I think I did soccer in kindergarten and first grade, maybe in second grade as well. And I apparently one season after my last season, I told my mom, I don't really want to do a team sport ever again.
Yeah.
And she was like, that's a big ask. Like, I'm kind of nervous. Like, what are you going to do in the future? But I apparently knew myself pretty well. So
Yeah, and climbing is interesting in that way because it is a team technically. If you were on movement as a kid, right?
Yeah.
Because so for those who don't know, movement is traditionally a Bay Area based climbing gym. Now it's in the East Coast, but you grew up, was it San Francisco?
I grew up a little south of San Francisco, so yeah, like in the Bay, down near like the Palo Alto area. But back then, the gyms were actually, the closest gyms to me were called Planet Granite.
Oh.
And then, so I was on that team, and then it transitioned into movement. So,
Okay,
you know,
cool.
lots of corporate stuff happening in the climbing world.
Yeah,
But-
I feel like that actually happened to me too. The clips turn into movement as well, so we're both movement alum, I guess. Cool, so why don't we talk about how things have changed since, for example, Planet Granite was even a thing. You and I are at this very interesting mix of knowing what it's like when climbing was just a bunch of guys, 2000s rock music, like no safety measures whatsoever, and now it's this huge trend almost for most people, especially the Olympics, and having slowly but surely more media come out about it. What are some observations that you've had, for example, just going into the gym and training now, the general environment, than how it used to be when you grew up?
Yeah, I mean, when I grew up, when I started climbing at like age 10, I think no one knew really what it was. Like, people would be like, what are you even climbing? Like, what does that even mean? But it's become so popular now that, like, I think the gym, I'm really excited that climbing is reaching so many people, but the gym is definitely a lot busier than it used to be. And I think a lot of these gyms have kind of catered towards getting new members, and getting more people into climbing so that they can like make more profit, and setting like climbs for people who are newer to climbing. So it's definitely harder to train, I think. Like, it makes it difficult for me to balance the like social aspect of going to the gym and hanging out with people, because a lot of people climb recreationally and that's what they're there to do, versus the side of me that knows that I am dedicated to training and like putting in the work and like putting my head down, like not talking to anyone, and getting my like workout or drill done. So it's definitely, I've definitely thought about a lot about how to balance that, but right now I'm kind of, I sometimes I get frustrated with how many people there are, but I have to remind myself that they're also there because they love it just as much as I do. So
Yeah, I get you. Especially now, for example, Vital has a few locations throughout the city, and most of them are 24/7 hours gyms, which is just a crazy concept because it used to just be 95. I mean, you didn't even have enough employees back in the day who were interested in climbing to actually work at a gym that has, you know, no ventilation. It's dirty most of the time. It was kind of hard to convince people to work there, and now it's like there's lines at the door to do front desk.
Even just the aesthetic of the gym, like, it's a lot more of a comfortable space where there are places to work and sit, and there are coffee shops in the gym, and like, it used to be like, you know, like my home gym is sweaty and gross and pretty small and not a very like aesthetic place. So they've definitely realized that there's an audience for that side of it.
Of course, and it's only going to get more crazy. So it's cool that we were born at like just the right time to see both.
The transition.
Speaking of transitions, I was just about to ask that for my next question. What was it like going from youth climbing, which is very structured? You know, you have school, then you go to the gym, you have private coaching, you're like traveling on the weekends for all these competitions, to collegiate, which is a bit more lax, a bit more just kind of, oh, this is for fun. But everyone that comes from a youth background kind of wants to keep pursuing that feeling. So what has that been like for you?
Yeah, it's definitely been one of the most formative periods for me because I feel like youth has always been really structured and I always knew exactly what was next. It was like the next season, I'm hoping to get better. Like I have the same community and coaches, and just the structure of the team always allowed me to feel like I was like pursuing my goals in a way that made sense. But with collegiate climbing and just going to college in general, I'm really far away from my favorite coach who's coached me for a really long time, like my entire community of climbers, and my home gym. And so like I had to relearn not only like how do I climb in these new spaces, how do I find my new community, but also like what does climbing mean to be, like what level of seriousness do I want to take this at. And yeah, I think going into college, I have had to learn a lot about like how do I enjoy climbing while still being motivated to like get better and pursue it kind of in the same way that I was before. I've had to think a lot about like, do I want to put in the effort to like kind of be great and be better than I am, or is that not really feasible at this point? Like, is the priority just like enjoying it? So it's been a very complicated process. I think it is for a lot of youth climbers. Like I've watched a lot of my friends transition from youth to like whatever is next, and either like get really burnt out or like find a new sort of love for the sport in either like outdoor climbing or just like not competitive climbing. But I'm always constantly trying to balance like my love for competitions and that side of it with like everything else that I have going on, especially because college has made me focus a lot more on academics. So
yeah, I 100% agree. And it's interesting watching, like you said, the climbers that we grew up with, you know, half of them are that 1% that move forward and get in the World Cup, get into the Olympics even, and then everyone else, they're like, okay, I guess real life is an option. But the good thing about climbing is it's not like football where the field is kind of the one place where you can still do the sport. Like climbing, we can do it, like you said, outdoors, whenever we want. Recreationally, you could even do competitions like you just did on the weekend. Made to finals was a huge show, but it's not necessarily, you know, the whole production. Like you can do a lot with it. So my last few questions are pretty much just about your goals and specifically, what's your thoughts on outdoor climbing, and do you ever pursue that when you're in the city?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of my goals now, they look a lot different than they did when I was younger. Like when I was younger, it was like, okay, I made nationals this year and I'm trying to work on my weaknesses, come back stronger, come back with like a better mindset and more ready to crush it in the next season. But now, although I am focused on collegiate and I want to do well in collegiate, I'm treating it more as just like a fun experience where I'm going to just go and do what I can do and just have fun with it. And I think my goals are more on the side of like continuing to enjoy climbing and improving in it just as a greater sport. So for example, there are multiple different like kind of styles of climbing, and I grew up very bad at like jumping, like very bad at being powerful and using my strength, and I would climb very slowly, climb very controlled. And so recently I've been really trying to become more powerful, more explosive, and it wouldn't necessarily translate into like me like producing better results in competitions, but in the long run I think it'll make me a better climber. So kind of just trying to enjoy all parts of the sport and challenge myself to like find joy in the parts that I previously didn't think I liked that much. But yeah, I think also I've definitely tried outdoor climbing, and I really just I love the idea of having like a goal that is so concrete and so connected to nature, and a place that you can go to and just like feel like you are really, really so deeply involved in the process of like learning and like experiencing the environment and the history around you. And so I went on a couple of trips this past winter break.
Oh, cool.
And I'm hoping to continue that every year
Right.
and do some climbing in the summer and whatnot. But yeah, with school, it's definitely hard. So I'm kind of on the mindset of like, I'm going to train and get ready during the school season and then do my trips when school ends. So,
Right.
yeah.
But we have that month-long Columbia break. So Wait, where did you go?
I went to Red Rocks in Nevada,
awesome.
and then I also went to Bishop in California,
Oh,
like
great.
the Sierras. So
Great.
those are two of the best climbing places in the world, and I enjoyed them a lot. I went to Red Rocks for the first time, so I have a lot to get back on.
Wow.
But yeah, this summer I want to get out to Tahoe more, and then back to Red Rocks and Bishop, because there's so much more to try. So.
Have you ever been to Remini?
I actually have not.
Really?
Yeah, I've not done much climbing here on the East Coast. I think the schedule keeps me pretty busy.
Yeah.
So, and also the weather is a big.
That's true.
Is a big factor because it's way too cold for like too many months.
Right. Yeah.
But
for those who don't know, there's a little bit, not a rivalry, but East Coast climbers versus West Coast climbers on the outdoor scene kind of pit heads a little bit because, you know, sandstone is heavily on the west, it's very hot, it's very desert-like. The east is more foresty, more, I don't know, I guess Noah Kahn aesthetic, kind of like. So it's a very funny atmosphere to talk to West Coast climbers as an East Coaster. And my last question, I guess I haven't talked much about your time specifically at Columbia since you are the competition coordinator. I actually know a few people in the J School who have started to get involved in the Columbia climbing team, so it's really catching on, and I'm curious what the goals are as a leader in the club and what you want to see in the next 2 years.
Yeah, recently, like, I joined the board, I think, last spring, and so my goal is really just to be able to, like, effectively manage the team and the competitions and whatnot, and make competition climbing accessible to as many people as possible. And I think moving forward, like, we're looking at a really awesome board next year, and I think we all really want to make the community aspect a little stronger and just have more of a space of, like, for all these climbers to enjoy the sport in the different way that they want. So like, for some people that's just recreationally coming once a week and hanging out with friends. For others that's like trying to get better or learning how to train. And for me, like, my focus is like on the board, my focus is competition climbing. So I'm trying to bring that experience to as many people as possible because I think competitions can really bring out like the best in you and be a really exciting, informative space, but they're actually not that accessible. So I think collegiate climbing is one of the best ways to get into it, and I want people to experience that like I have.
For sure. And that has changed a little bit, like with now there's intermediate nationals and not just the 8 that originally could have gone a few years ago. Wow, that is so great. And a lot of people just see climbing and they're kind of weirded out by just how it looks. Or they're like, oh, how hard is that, or what does that feel like? What would you want people to know who maybe don't understand climbing or don't see how it could be an Olympic sport, or just kind of
I think that to me climbing is like, and I'm biased, but I think climbing is the best sport in the world. It's like the ultimate sport because it really combines like the physical aspect of, you know, like using your strength and your muscles and like understanding your body and translating, you know, that into movement and stuff. But it also has such a strong mental side. Like, I have faced so much like actual physical fear where I've had to like push through and be like, no, I can actually do that. And to feel that so like internally has made me, I think, has prepared me for feeling that in other situations and things. So I think that the mental side of climbing, the side of like learning to learn and like analyzing like what you're doing wrong and like how the movement works, or, you know, like how to just commit to something that you're really scared of, has made me like a better person. And every lesson that I've taken from climbing, I've, you know, applied to real life. So I don't know. I am very biased. I think I also grew up in a subculture of climbing that was very focused on that side of things. But I think it really just, it like uses all my senses, makes me really excited, and challenges me to just like become a better person.
For sure, I definitely agree. And you know, when the stress of academic life kind of melts away when you're on a cliff looking down, like figuring out how you're gonna get down safely, it kind of puts life into perspective a lot. So I definitely feel that. But those are all the questions I had for you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this week's issue of Spotlight, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Thank you so much.